Doing? Hold on, I'm getting you in your tripod. Bam, bam, bam. How's it going, everybody? Bam, bam, bam. Welcome to a nighttime tea session. I'm gonna start the other camera. How's everybody doing? I'm a tea guy, Jesse. Hope everybody is having a good evening. We have, I've never done, I'm trying to think of the last time I did a nighttime tea session. It was probably like in 2021. It's been a while since I did a night session. Welcome everybody joining. We got a lot of people in here. Goblin, Kai, welcome. Tinkering with Doug, how you doing? Nadalu Bangpan, nice to see you guys here. And then also we have over here, we have the Instagram. Nice to see everybody there. Welcome, welcome. What's my best tea pet? There's no best tea pet, but I'm a big fan of Big Puff, the puffer fish. Big Puff, there's a sort of, a version of Big Puff called Lord Scrump, who has got his own cult following on my Discord. So if that's something you're interested in, you should go and check on the Discord. Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody is doing well. I have two phones over here. I got the Instagram, I got the YouTube. I hope everything is looking okay. There's a lot of blue on this one, there's a lot of purple on this one. The cameras are struggling with the lighting scheme I got going here, but it's great to be able to see everybody and check in. I'm gonna be drinking the, where did I just put it? I just had it in my hand. Where did I put it? Come on, man. Oh, here it is. The Hainanese Yellow Rosewood, which is the nighttime tea. This is kind of my go-to nighttime tea because it is made from the Hainanese Yellow Rosewood tree, not the tea tree, so it is not actually caffeinated, because it's not actually tea. And we're going to use all the rest of the bag because I'm out of my own supply, so I have to get another batch of my own tea coming here. This is actually a good opportunity. I missed a chance to make it a video, but when you get to the bottom of a tea bag, you'll notice you get a lot of like just very powdery, just like, the crumbs at the bottom. And this is something to take aware of when you're at that very end, crumbs, broken leaves, that sort of stuff. The tea is still good, you just have to back off the tea time a little bit. The temperature of the tea needs to, the temperature you could go down as well, but just the steep time, it's gonna steep quicker because you have like more surface area. So very, very cool. Awesome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Caden said had some shung at 4. I did as well. So maybe that's why I'm in such a good mood. the tea energy still leaving it over. People asking what time is it in California? It is 9:15 p.m. It's not that late. But it was too early to go to bed, and I didn't have anything else to do, and I was about to have a nighttime tea session, so I figured why not try a night tea session with y'all. Hope everything is going well. People are asking how's everything doing. It's been a hard week. I'm going to be totally honest about it. Half of California. There were, obviously I think everybody knows there are these huge fires that are going all throughout Los Angeles. It was definitely a very helpless position to be in to, see all these places that I have friends that had to evacuate, and all these places where I used to go hiking and ride my motorcycle are burned. I don't know if they're completely gone. I don't know what the deal is. I haven't been up there to check. So it's been a difficult time, and I just want to thank you all again, especially those of you who bought tea during the this last weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We were donating all of the profits of 3 of the red teas that we have on the website to fire relief, and we managed to fundraise about $8,817. Which is a lot of money. So thank you all so much. I'm going to be boosting that to 10,000 through my own donation. And so we'll have a pretty big check to give to somebody. Now the next step is to look into organizations that really need the money. I think I'm gonna give a little bit of time for the, to see where the actual government aid goes, because I'm guessing there will be organizations that really need help, but for some reason can't get the government aid, or it goes between the cracks, or it's just too niche. I don't know exactly what, but I will definitely be showing you all the receipts when we do it, because I just really, beyond thankful that we have this community. It's really incredible to make a sale, put it out on the website, make a video, send an email, and we managed to raise like $8,800, which is nuts. So cheers to all of you. I apologize if I missed your comments over here, but we'll go to that. Josh Hunks says, are the infuser mugs good for tea? Yeah, where's my cat cup mug? I used that yesterday. I like the infuser mugs. I think I personally prefer this style of tea making, but there are times when I'm like, I need to sit down at the computer and I need to work, and I really can't be distracting myself with all of this. And at those times, I either use a teapot or I use an infuser mug, and they're both great. So that, I think that, like, as far as tea goes, like, in college, after I came back from China, an infuser mug was my main way of making tea for the first, like, for the rest of my senior year, I suppose, before I wound up getting my own place and having space for that. Questions over here. Lots of great questions over here. Taylor says, I think that's a well-reasoned plan for donating. Thank you. I do want to make sure that everybody has input on it because, again, it's your guys' money. I collected it through the fundraiser, but I definitely don't want to wind up pulling a 180 and people are like, we thought we were donating for this and you donated to some weird fringe topic. We're going to probably do a video and a poll on a couple candidates and maybe even split the money amongst a couple candidates, but there could be a situation where $10,000, like that's a chunk of money. That's something that could like really help one organization if we were able to give it to one organization. So I'm kind of leaning towards giving it to one, but we'll figure out what to do with the money, and we'll obviously be posting all of the information and stuff on the internet. Cheers. Great questions over here. We got a lot of questions over here. Sam says, I hear that many Americans are starting to use Xiaohongshu instead of TikTok. That's ridiculous. It's number 3 on the Android App Store. I really hope that does not become a theme. Xiaohongshu, as far as Chinese apps go, it's fine. The problem is if you're on Xiaohongshu, you're in the Chinese under the Chinese rules about freedom of speech. This is part of the problem why I have not been posting comedy over the last couple of years, is because the Chinese community has moved to Xiaohongshu away from the Western internet, and so I have to go back into the censorship in order to deal with it, which sucks. I really hope that does not become a trend of Americans doing that. Also, it'll get banned because they didn't care about any data. If they're going to ban TikTok, there was no evidence presented. There was, they'll ban the next Chinese app. It's nuts. I can't, I get too worked up. It's too late for me to get worked up about the TikTok ban. But God, I hope that does not happen. Questions. Jesse, Forest Hills Drive says, Jesse morphing into a Chinese middle-aged man day by day. Oh, I'm there. I'm there already, man. I'm just, if I should do the, hey, y'all, 这个好. That's my Chinese middle-aged man impression. 我告诉你，这个好茶呀，晚一点不要喝太多的咖啡因。我的去 That's my Chinese middle-aged man. Questions. Somebody on Instagram says, why is Lapsang Sochong so hard to get last year? I wasn't aware it was. Maybe there was something going on, but I don't stock that anymore. We had one in the previous time, and when we sold out, we kind of just let it go. I keep thinking I'm going to find a new one. I actually found a really good one, but we had paperwork issues. I'm working really hard now to make sure that we have all the paperwork so that when we have new teas, I can put them in the US, EU, and UK at the same time. All of this, a lot of the delays of getting the European warehouses open is because the paperwork requirements are so ridiculous. Can't get over it. Questions. Gramps says, what are we sipping on right now? I am drinking the Hymanese Yellow Rosewood. This is if you're like, I want a non-caffeinated tea, this is the one to get, straight up. It is the leaves of the yellow rosewood tree, which is used in China for its beautiful wood. It's like a very, very high-end wood for furniture. But the tree itself is not a Camellia sinensis. It's not a tea tree, so this is not tea by technical definition. But because it's not Camellia sinensis, it has no caffeine. So the leaves, the people that we work with, they're really innovators in this sense. There's no other people that I know that make this into tea. They pick the leaves and then they process the leaves as if they were tea leaves. So they take them, they knead them, they ferment them for 24 hours, they dry them, they do all the steps that you would do to make tea, but it is not tea. So the result is that it has, very beautiful color here. It almost has the color of a red tea, and it has a nutty flavor. I'd say nuttiness is the main one I get there, but there's like a lot of like almost like a hazelnut type thing going on there. Sweet, naturally sweet. But again, because this is not Camellia sinensis, do whatever you want to it. Add honey, do whatever you want. Seth says over here, I love the yellow rosewood. I bought so much just in case it goes away sometime. I'm hoping to keep it in stock, but you never know. The next threat to it would be whatever, if there are tariffs added to the, to the world and everything gets shittier, but we'll have to see. We may be in a position politically of having to, I just like, I'm kind of going back into my China mode of like, that for many years, Congress has not really done its job, and so the result is that you have a lot of decisions from the courts and you have a lot of executive orders, and that basically, it reduces the value of living in a democracy, in my opinion, because if stuff is being ordered by the courts or ordered by the executive, then, we don't really, you don't get the benefit of living in a law-based system where you get to know what the law is going to be tomorrow. The executive will change the law or the courts will change the law, and it changes like that. So you basically are back to living kind of under a, I don't want to say autocracy because it's a big word and the power is spread out much thinner in America. It's not really an autocracy. But you have to live with the decision of a very few people with power radically changing your life overnight, which is not fun. And that was one of the downsides of living in China, was that that's kind of what happens there. And I'm frustrated to see it happening from my own country. I don't know, should I change my entire supply chain? It's very difficult to be like a business person in that sort of environment. So I'm hoping that things keep going better. I don't know. Questions. Theon L. Cersei says, is your tea sourced directly from Yunnan farmers? Some of it is. So we have a combination of different ways of sourcing the tea. Some of them, anything that's Sister Eyes tea, so if you go to the website, you'll see Sister Eyes Everyday White Tea, Sister Eyes Everyday Red Tea, Sister Eyes 2014-15 tea, Sister Eyes Master Box. All Sister Eyes stuff, we're working directly with Sister Eye the farmer. So that's very much direct, like she has the farm, she managed the whole system. We've gone now 2 summers in a row to the hang out at her tea hacienda. It's a great place. Other ones are brought by friends of mine that are, they run tea brands or they run tea shops, and so they have access to either their own stuff. Some of it is like they run their own brand, but they manage their brand very carefully, and then they only sell their stuff. So like my friend Dui Dui, if you see Dui Dui's 2010 Reserve, Dui Dui's whatever, Dui Dui bought that tea himself in 2010 and has managed it ever since. So that's kind of direct. And then I'd say the least direct, which is kind of where we started at because I started the company during COVID, but the least direct we get is I have friends of mine that just run tea shops and they have access to tea from all over the country. And when I say like, hey, what's a good tea I can get at this price range, and they send that over to me. As the company has kind of grown, I've gone further and further away from that. One, because there's an extra middleman involved, but 2 is just because the it's always good to get as close as you can to the product. And during COVID, I couldn't do that. I couldn't travel. Now we've had enough time. 2023, the borders reopened. I was able to get back starting in 2023 in May. And since then, we've kind of transitioned more and more to having fewer teas from friends that just run shops, to now working more directly with the farmers and people like Dui Dui that like kind of run their own specialized brand where they have a lot of control over the system. So any individual tea, if you have a question about it, you can email teafriendsupport@jessecos.com and we'll let you know. I try to be proactively transparent about all of that, but it's, it is complicated and every tea is a little bit different. So cheers. Questions over here. Kim Vendier says, Dui Dui is a goat, been looking forward to that pour cake of his. It's great. All his tea is awesome. Jack DeLutz says, do you ever think you'll own a brick and mortar tea shop in LA? I want to, man. I just, beyond the question of whether it would burn down, it's a lot of money to run a brick and mortar, and I think it's money and time and energy and risk. So, risk, not just the fact it might burn down, but risk is like, if the store does badly, it's going to be very hard for me to kill my baby. So it's like, and also you need a lot of these like commercial real estate. You have to sign these 3-year leases at very expensive rates here in LA. I think the more likely situation is that I'll try to find some pop-ups, places to go, maybe even some long-term pop-ups. If I can find like an art gallery that's got a corner somewhere that they're happy to turn into a tea house, and I can pay a little bit of rent and they'll give me a key and I can do some tea stuff there, I would love that. I think there's cities like LA, I learned this in Beijing, like for regular people to play in these sandboxes, like it's just not a fair fight if you get into anything with real estate. Some people just have unbelievable amounts of money. Some things are like supported by organizations that they've had the land for 100 years. It's like to just come in at market rate and rent a place in a mega city like LA or Beijing or Shanghai or New York or any of these, London, it's just hard, man. You better have a lot of money or make a lot of cash from day one. And I don't want to put that sort of pressure on myself to do that, but I do want to have a place where we can drink tea together in person in LA. So, hopefully once the fires are done and the air clears up and everybody's kind of more comfortable being outside, we'll do some more tea in parks and stuff like that. So, cheers. Questions. Curious on what a Camellia sinensis based tea is. Hold on, make sure I get this question right. This is from Jack Kurgel. My friend is inviting me to an event with these teas, but I'm not sure what that entails. Basically, Camellia sinensis is the tea tree. So if the leaves came from Camellia sinensis, it's tea, as defined by like Chinese people. In the West, kind of anything that people steep in water, they kind of call tea. So this is kind of the joke about like you have a bunch of alligators in a swimming pool. Is that alligator tea? But if they are saying, hey, we want to have Camellia sinensis, my guess is that these people are real tea heads, and it's probably a good place to go and drink tea with them. I think in this sense, like the formal word for this apparently is tisane. Tisane is like a herbal infusion, or infusion is the other word. That separates like tea leaf tea from the other stuff. So what I'm drinking now, the yellow rosewood, this is an infusion or a tisane. And so there are people on the internet that are like, I only drink tea, like tisane, lame. My taste is like that, but my attitude is not. I generally don't drink that much herbal anything, and if I do, it's almost very specifically because it's laid out and I don't want caffeine. I just love the tea leaf. It's an amazing thing, and I think that it is causing difficulty of doing better tea education, that it's so difficult to get people to understand what tea is versus an herb. It also, like aside, just a random rant, I have to pay like a lot of money for really high-end tea. Like we're paying our farmers a lot of money because tea is a very competitive product. It drives me crazy. Like I went to Whole Foods today and they had like peppermint tea, so like very fancy branded peppermint tea for like $8 a box, and there's like barely anything in there. I'm like, peppermint, like from a wholesaler, is almost free. The problem, like it's unbelievable how cheap a lot of these ground up, like mass produced herbs are. In fact, like the cost of getting that thing to you, the paper, the printing, the logistics, hiring employees to manage that process, all of that is way more expensive than the peppermint. It's nuts. I won't go into specific numbers because I don't want to drag on anyone's business that's doing legitimate business, and maybe there are things I don't understand, but like I got quotes for that when I did tea in China. Like, do you want herbal tea too? Because they assume all the Westerners want herbal tea. I'm like, no, I want like real tea. And they're like, well, what about this? And they showed me the list of like what you pay for it. And I'm like, damn, it's so cheap. It's unbelievable cheap. It's almost free. In fact, when we started our chrysanthemum goji berry tea line, the biggest problem for a long time was finding the good stuff, because they're like, no one will care. Like, no one cares how good the goji berries are. No one cares how good the chrysanthemums are. I'm like, well, one thing, I don't think that's true. But two, it's like, you're charging me almost nothing for this. Like, I can't, in my right conscience turn around and sell it at a premium that's that nuts. Like, I don't know, like any of these companies make money. A lot of people like to hate on like individuals trying to like start a business and stuff. Go like see what Best Buy pays for those $30 cables. They charge you $30. They probably get them for 25 cents. It's nuts. Like the markup on some of this stuff that's just in like regular consumer goods. It's nuts. I don't know. Maybe Best Buy has a lot of employees and a lot of real estate to pay for. But anyway, random rant. Rockus Cosmos says, I started collecting tea as a child because I thought it made me sophisticated. Love seeing your content. It does make you sophisticated. Oh no, that's not the reason to do it, but it does. It's great. I love tea. I just, as you've seen here, it's like it's brought me a lot of friends. It's brought me a lot of great experiences. Just like as a human being, it's like every day I get to sit and have tea with people. Like never a bad day. I love performing. Any day I get to do a show, never a bad day. Any day I get to like make something, never a bad day. Any day I get to have tea with people, never a bad day. Unless the state is on fire or something like that. By the way, I'm sorry if I miss your questions. Feel free to re-steep them or repost them. Gary Schreider says, question, what's your favorite type of tea you've had over the years and what's been your go-to? I'm one of those guys that likes a lot of different types of tea. Some people really enjoy like only drinking raw pu'er or like only drinking old white tea. And I'm not really one of those people, or like only drinking rock tea or Dansholms or whatever. I like mixing it up every day. I have a whole bunch of tea here. You kind of can't see this whole area on this side of the camera is a mess. It's got like 40 different bags of tea, like samples, my own stuff, other people's stuff, labeled stuff, unlabeled stuff. I'm very ADHD, like if I see it, I get inspired to drink it. If I don't see it, I don't think I have it, I forget it. I have a lot of tea that's in storage up on top of my little bathroom area up over there. And it's like, I don't know even what's in there anymore. Like once it gets packed away, I kind of forget I have it. So I like having a lot of stuff around. I like having a lot of stuff visually there, and then just kind of feeling with it every day. Just like think, do I want to try raw pu'er? No, I feel like that's maybe a little bit too energetic. What do I want something chiller? What about the cooked pu'er? Maybe that. Oh, that's a little dark. What about a red tea? What about a white tea? If we have anything new, I try that. And then sometimes I have like, I'm coming down to the deadline of when I need to pick the teas. Like we run the subscription club. Every 3 months you get 3 new teas. I need to be working at least half a year ahead of time on that. So like I'm picking the teas that are coming out in the summer. So like sometimes I have like a deadline. And so in that case, I'm drinking whatever tea I have to be drinking to be testing out all the different samples and finding the right ones for you guys. So cheers, by the way. Lots of great questions over here. Wow. Well, it's going fast. Hold on. Questions over here. Question, can you use normally steeping tea for gongfu? If so, how does that work? I don't know what you mean by normally steeping tea. Gongfu is a method. So gongfu tea is this method of making tea with the shorter steeps and the less water in a gaiwan or a pot, filter, tea pets, tea table, the whole thing. You can do anything you want with gongfu. Whether it's traditional or not is the question, and whether it's good or not is the question. But you can do whatever you want. Like there are no tea police. They're not gonna, I had a bit where it's like the police are not gonna break into your house because you made the tea wrong, or they might break in your house, but it won't be because you made the tea wrong. It'll depend on other things. So it's definitely go for it. I don't know. But like it actually takes a lot more skill to make bad tea well. So if you have like a bad, like it's just a rando tea bag, it's actually harder to make that well than you think, because if you oversteep it, it gets bitter. If you understeep it, there's no flavor. But you have to oversteep it because there's barely any tea in there and it's low quality. But because it's low quality and has so much surface area, everything leaches out fast, so you want a short steep time. But because there's no tea in there and it's poor quality, you need a longer steep time. It's actually like really difficult to make a tea bag well. You're gonna have problems with it one way or the other. And if you had that sort of skill, why are you drinking from a tea bag? So, cheers. Questions over here. From Shane, question: how much does Yixing affect the tea's flavor in your opinion, especially the different types? Say oolong and a purple versus red clay or a pretty yellow clay. I look at it from this perspective. I've been really lucky that I've been able to get, like, I have a red purple clay pot, a Hongyi pot. We have some of Dui Dui's purple clay pots that will be coming to the site hopefully very soon. These are really, really pretty. The light is not great. I'd show you more, but the light's not great. It's going to give you a weird impression of it. I think that I kind of take a little bit of a different stance on this. The question is not what would in theory be perfect. The question is kind of like, there's a phrase in Chinese called cha yuan, tea fate. Like, I almost feel like the pot has to be fated to come to you, the right person at the right time, or like you're given it as a gift, or there's something about a specific tea that you really want to make well, so you pick the pot for that tea. Like, there's some sort of like fate element in here, and I think that teapot will make the best tea. I think that if you have the resources to be able to like define exactly what type of pot is it worth, exactly what type of tea, that's great. And maybe that is the fate. Maybe the fate is the work and the research you had to go through to do it. But I think that generally Yixing, like the Yixing pots are used for raw pu'er or cooked pu'er. I would say if you have the resources to not mix different tea types, if you want to have a pot that's like, for one tea, that's a good way to do it. But if you're like, look, it's already a stretch to get this purple clay pot, I love it, I want to make different types of tea with it, I think that's fine. Like, it's like, again, there's no tea police here. Anybody who's like, no, that's seriously a problem, like has completely lost touch with reality, I think. Same with people who are like, I can't drink pu'er unless it was aged in exactly the right humidity. I'm like, I think this is like, a good thing has gone too far sort of problem. You don't want that sort of sickness in it. I think that's, I'd say that's the way I look at it at least. By the way, people saying, I like the shirt. This is Irvine FC, baby. Irvine Zetas. Oh yeah, representing a very, 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 very small soccer club in Irvine, California. Props. I got these jerseys because the guy who founded the Irvine Zetas is a tea guy and messaged me on the Jesse Seahouse page, and he was like, you should come to a game. And so I came to a game, and it's a Chinese guy who is also a fan of my. He's never seen my traditional Chinese comedy, but he was a fan of my master, it turns out. So my master, I apprenticed to Ding Guangquan, was very famous in China, and so he had seen Master Ding's comedy, and so he was like, you're Master Ding's disciple, you're a tea guy, come over, and so he gave me a bunch of swag. They also won that game like 14-1 or something like that, because it was not a fair fight. They're like, the guy's trying to build like a real soccer team from zero, and they're just like better than the league they're in. But apparently, if you start a soccer team, which apparently you can just do, you have to like pay to be in these leagues. And so whenever he was like, we're gonna pay to be in this league because it's a cheaper league, and then they wrecked everybody. And then they're like, well, we really should have been in a higher league, but now he's like, I have to pay more money to get in a higher league. It's kind of weird. You'd think if you're good that they'd pay you, but no, it's the other way around, apparently. Questions. A lot of really great stuff over here. Holy crap. Hold on. There's so many questions over here. Okay. Liam says, question, do you have a tea you'd recommend to somebody who's never tried tea before? I have a few friends of mine who haven't. I'd love to share the hobby with them. I would say, if they've truly never tried tea before, you can kind of do whatever you want because they're not comparing it to anything. I generally recommend people start with a red tea, which again, in the West, it's called black tea. The Chinese call it red tea. So if you go on my shop, it'll all be red tea. It's under red tea. And the reason is because it's like when people think of tea, that's generally what they think of. Either that or a green tea, but I would argue against a green tea only just because green tea is very light and sweet and fresh. But like, if somebody is like, tea doesn't taste like anything, then like the green tea is not really going to be there. A good red tea is like very safe. I'm like, I never have a bad day when I drink red tea. Sometimes I'm like, this pour wasn't to my taste, or like, this green tea is like a little bit astringent. Never have a bad red tea. Especially at like, I have a lot of good red tea around. So like, there probably are bad red teas out there, but I don't have them anymore. Nice. Great questions over here. Green teas are also a little bit more complicated to brew. This is from Sam Neil Bauer. That is true. It does take a little bit more skill to do the green tea well. Welcome over here. I've been missing a bunch of questions over here on the Instagram. I apologize. There's just so many questions over here on the YouTube, so I'm trying to make sure I don't miss it. Nolan Frampton says, I feel like red is more forgiving than white tea. It can be. The white tea is like, obviously you have to have good quality white tea, but it's just like, I feel red tea is like a good basic. Like, I've answered that question a couple times, and every time I do, I kind of rethink it a little bit, and I'm like, I still think I'm right. I still think the red tea is the one to go for. I would say though, if you get one of my samplers, I have an 8 tea sampler, and you invite your friends over, try a couple in one day. Like, a lot of people think like, oh, we've already had tea today. Like, no, that's the thing. Like, everybody came over. Like, let's try a couple of them. Anything that'll keep 4 people entertained for 2 hours, like, this worth whatever you paid for it if it's like a couple bucks. It's like, everything's so expensive now. Like, you go out, like, you go somewhere and you pay for parking in LA, you're gonna pay more than 3 to 4 tea sessions worth of tea. It's like unbelievable. Nothing, the money isn't worth anything anymore. I feel like I'm like some old man here, like, yeah, when I was your age, money was worth quite a lot. I wish I had some of that, 2000s spending power. Very, very cool. Question over here. Tiny Valkyrie says, buy Tiny Guy wants to show off more teas without caffeine toxicity. You can't, like, a lot of people do have a lot of different Gaiwans, and they just swap out Gaiwans. If you just need a little tea, you can always get one of my tiny teapot tea pets. They're actually real teapots. You can put like 2 leaves in there and make a little bit of tea. And it works. It does actually pour. Give you a little bit of the tiny teapot. Oop. Yeah, it does actually pour. Never a bad suggestion to break out the tiny teapot tea pet. Those are on the website if you go to the tea pets on the website. Very cool. Seth says, I love my Rooster cup. That cup was a really good cup. I remember I got the sample, I was like, this is a nice cup. Like, the art on it is nice, the material is nice. I generally tend towards glass or white porcelain because you see the color of the tea clearest, but like, for whatever reason, that cup, I just felt like it was a great thing. Dan N says, hey Jesse, can I get an update on the pig tea pet? Any chance it'll be available for Valentine's Day? The pig box and the tea pet will be launching February 1st. Bam, bam, bam. Only like 2 weeks from now. The new sampler, the new subscription box is coming. So very excited for that. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. All the pigs are already made. They're on their way over. They're sitting on a boat probably right now, about to get here hopefully by the end of the week. It's always a little bit stressful to not have the products 14 days before I have to send it to you guys, but that's just unfortunately the when I made the subscription, I had no idea how hard it was going to be to have a schedule so many months in advance to be able to deal with crazy business stuff and ocean shipping and customs and taxes, and it's a lot of work. But it's worth it to run that subscription. It's the best thing on the site for sure. Questions over here. Anything for Year of the Steak from Adrian Beltran, who I'm very much hoping is the oh no, that's Adrian Beltre. I was thinking of the Red Sox had the Hall of Famer, or should be Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame. He should be if he's not. Adrian Beltre, baseball player. If you are Adrian Beltre, I'm happy to give you some tea in exchange for a shout out. No, but the question before I did 3 bits on this guy's name. I have now forgotten. I did so many bits on the guy's name that I forgot the question. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I forgot your question. Carlos Beltran. No, Adrian Beltran and Carlos Beltran are 2 different players. But as far as I know, there was no baseball player named Adrian Beltran. So sorry about that. Leon XG says T spots in Shanghai. There's lots of T spots. I mean, I spent a lot of my time at the wholesale markets. The Tianshan tea market is a great place. There is a like really pretty looking tea house over a lake right outside the entrance of Yuan Park. That looked like an amazing place to have tea, but once you realize that you can get better tea for cheaper at the wholesale market, and the wholesale market is already super cool, I just like never went to any like tea houses ever again. Or rather, I would only go if I was invited by other people, because it's a lot of money, and like, especially if you know people at the wholesale markets, you get better tea, and it's like much more chill, it's much more my vibe, you know? So like especially also being a white guy in China, like people who work at places that service tourists don't draw a distinction between an America that lived in China for 9 years and an American that like just came off the plane. And a lot of like little stuff I'm just like over. If they're like, wow, like, you know, welcome to Shanghai, you know, a beautiful city. Like, I'm like, dude, like I've lived in Shanghai before. And depending on the person, I may have even lived in Shanghai longer than they have. But like, so I don't go to a lot of places that are like Western tourist oriented. That being said, I wouldn't discourage you from doing it. If you have 48 hours in Shanghai and you don't speak Chinese, go. It's gonna be great. Like, it'll be a great experience. But if you do speak Chinese or you've lived there a long time, you know, I think you generally don't go to those places as much. A lot of them are quite nice, and a lot of them, if you really like the whole experience and a really nice tea house and like snacks and stuff like that, you know, totally worth checking out. I forget the name of that tea house, but it's right outside of Yuan Park, which is worth going to if you're in Shanghai. Questions. First Fool of a Candy. Any chance of a rat tea petter set? There is 100% chance. That's the next box after the pig box. So you guys are definitely going to enjoy that. Very cool. Mouseman says, hey Jesse, I'm new to enjoying tea and have been overwhelmed with all the many companies selling tea. What are the reputable sellers that go straight to the source like yourself? I mean, the reason I know anything about my tea is because I did the work. I have not done the work of checking any other suppliers. I'm not saying they're good or bad or better or worse. It's just like fundamentally, like I spend so much time getting my teas and I know the work that goes into it, and I have not spent that time vetting a single other Western vendor. Also, like, I do spend every day working to get good tea for your guys, so I will never badmouth another vendor, and I never like say don't go to other vendors, but like I do all this work so you guys can go to the website and try tea for me. And if you don't like it, you know, you don't have to come back. But like, you know, like in an ideal world, I would get paid enough by making the videos that I would just like, we sell tea, great. If not. The internet does not pay artists. The internet does not create creators. You know, I'm working off of whatever 0.002 cents a play. Like the whole business started because I got millions of fans in China and realized you still couldn't make money because they just don't pay you. So like, you have to sell something online as a creator. It could be t-shirts, it could be premium content, it could be tea, it could be something. But if the goal is to create stuff and be an artist in the modern day on the internet, you cannot make the money from views alone. It's very hard. By the time you have enough money coming in from views alone, you found 10 other ways of making money, hopefully. So like, it's really, you know, I wouldn't be like so on it, except that like the whole reason this works is I don't like, as I work to get the vendors that I know and put the stuff on the shop. So, people say, Sam Niebauer says, it seems like a conflict of interest to talk about other vendors. It can be. It's like, this is another reason I don't do it as much. And also just like, well, there's a couple reasons. One, I don't like to talk badly about anybody. So if I don't like their tea, I don't want to use my platform to bash people who are probably trying their best. Similarly, if somebody really was better than me, like, you know, I'd be shooting myself in the foot by saying it like so blatantly. The truth is that with tea, everybody has their own style, and like this is why my TikTok channel was called Your Tea Guy. I was thinking maybe naming the whole thing Your Tea Guy, because that's how I learned. I went to many wholesale markets, tea mountains, shops, like everybody that you sit down, you have tea with, you kind of get a vibe. Do I like sitting down and talking to this person? And, you know, does my view, like, are they an interesting person to talk to? What do they think about tea? What do they think about, you know, comedy and philosophy and like, you know, current events and politics? You want to have, again, the Taiyuan, the tea fake, Taiyuan. And so it's like, you know, I think that there's room for many different vendors, because there's many different types of people, and there's many different types of tea fake. Somebody out there cares very deeply about knowing exactly what side of which mountain this thing was made, and knowing the journey of the tea cake, every single moment from where it was first stored to where it was second stored to where it's being stored now, to the humidity and the temperature. Somebody loves that. That sounds exhausting to me. That's not why I got into tea. I'd love to drink that tea. I don't want to spend hours and days researching, you know, like getting direct humidity results from somebody on the internet who, by the way, just who knows if they're telling the truth anyway. It just isn't fun for me. Other people are, you know, even more open than me. They're like, yeah, do whatever. Like, you know, mix your tea with, you know, it doesn't matter traditionally what the Chinese ingredients were. Like, if you want to put, you know, chocolate in your tea, go and do it. I'm like, I kind of got into this because I wanted to make the tea well, and there's been thousands of years of history of making tea, and they've learned some things about it, and nobody put chocolate in it until you had to make a YouTube video, you know? So like I don't do a lot of that. So anyway, I'd say it's not that there is like a best vendor. Part of the reason it's confusing is because there is a lot of stuff like that out there. That being said, I work really hard to get you the stuff that's on my shop, and I think you'll enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then you've at least had some experiences and you know a little bit more about your own taste and what you're looking for from somebody else. So cheers. We'll do one more question, I think, and then I'm going to get going because it's almost 10 o'clock and I might as well figure it out. Question. I love the tea and comedy. Oh, somebody's talking comedy. I gotta do more comedy shows this year. I love the tea and comedy and no judgment plays. Coffeeholic turned tea fanatic. All the work you put in means a lot to me. Thanks so much. Always glad to have coffee people here. Everybody thinks there's some beef between tea people and coffee people. I haven't seen it. I found the coffee people generally to be kind of like closer to a tea person than a regular person, for sure. They really know about like, where's your material coming from? Where, like, who's making it? How do you work with the farmers? How do you prepare it? You know, got a lot of like weird equipment and stuff like that. And they're like, you know, this is nothing compared to the crazy coffee stuff. So like, I like the coffee people. I'm glad to have them. Glad to have you guys over here. We will figure it out. Yeah, Gary Schreider says I'm both a tea and coffee person. Great. Yeah, we don't need to pick sides. So many things in this world nowadays. I've been trying to work on a bit about this. Is like everybody just assumes you pick sides. You know, everybody just assumes if you say A, that means you're anti-B. I didn't say anything about that. I just talked about A. You know, whether it's politics, it's like you know, politics, or even I talk a lot about this with my Chinese American friends about like U.S.-China stuff. They're like, you have to pick a side. I have to pick a side. They think they think like you know the anti-China rhetoric is going to get worse, and do they have to make some sort of clean cut with their life in China if they want to be an American? But will Americans recognize that? If they go back to China, will they be able to deal with that system? It's very different from the ones they grew up in here. There's like a lot of side choosing, and I hate it. And I hate it not just because I think it's it like just turns up the heat and makes things worse. I hate it because it doesn't make sense. Like very few things in this world are binary like that. Like, you know, what's the best pizza? Like, who the hell knows? Like, is pizza better than whatever stir fry? It's just not a relevant question. If you like Italian food, you don't need to dislike, whatever, sushi or something like that. It just is not relevant. And so there's very few things I think that are interesting enough to think hard about that are also just A or B. I'll put it that way. Anything that's interesting enough to think hard about and to think about in depth, it's probably not just gonna be like, oh, which side are you on, So questions. We'll do last questions. Over here. So Logan S says, I'm starting to get into tea. I use 2 lavender chamomile tea bags. They seem pretty weak. I want to get into loose leaf. Any recommendations of types of tea to start? Yeah. So lavender chamomile is an herbal tea. Or in Chinese, like a huacacha, herbal and flower tea. It's both. It's an herb, it's a flower. Lavender, chamomile. They're plants, but they're not tea leaves. If you're going to try to do some loose leaf, I very much recommend look for tea leaves. Camellia sinensis. If it says tea, it's real tea, green tea, black tea. These are teas. They will be stronger. Like, one of the reasons that people drink tea, yes, it's a leaf, just like all those other leaves. But the reason it's called tea and the reason it's been the most traded commodity of the entirety of human history is it's the best leaf, in my opinion, for drinking. So it's really good, and it's different types of teas are stronger than others. Some are lighter, some are stronger. But I would start with a nice red tea. Any of the red teas on my website, I would recommend. What the Chinese call red tea, the Westerners call black tea. So if you search red tea on Google, you're probably going to get rooibos, which is again a bush. It's not the tea leaf. Look for tea leaves. Get tea, actual tea. And from there, you can always try to get better tea or different types of tea. But I'd say that's the one thing. If you're like, I'm starting at lavender chamomile, where do I want to go? That's the one thing I would say. Get to tea. We'll do one last thing. First Fool of a Candy says, shout out to the host of this for being kind. Oh, thank you. And enough to introduce so many lives of quality tea. While I'm also providing, I can't see what the thing says. Also providing and aid to those in need. So much love from OR. Really hope to come through once. Thank you so much. I got to come through Oregon. I heard there was isn't there some sort of like tea garden in Portland? There's like some sort of like Japanese tea garden or something like that in Portland that I've heard about. I heard it's good. And thank you so much for that encouragement. I'm gonna leave it on that note, I suppose. Just thanking you guys as well for being here and hanging out for an hour in the evening. If you guys have if you want any tea, jesseseahouse.com. That's my website. I'm Jesse. If you need tea stuff, we have it there too. Tea equipment. If you need tea pets, little bunnies or whatever, we got that as well. And in general, just be part of the community. And if you follow me on TikTok and not here, follow me here just in case. Figure out how it goes. But thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening or morning if you're already on tomorrow. And I'll see you guys around. Bye-bye. See you guys. Bye-bye. We do need a raccoon.